Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'm adding another thing to our weekly freight market and update video, which is gauges that show how much the truck capacity changed in each of the big markets. I think it's going to be super helpful to understand where you need to go. Anyway, let's talk about how the freight market changed week over week, what happened with diesel prices, what happened with volumes, the spot market, and of course, where do we need to go next week in order to get those better paying loads? Ready? Let's go. All right, starting with the net authority changes. As of last week, last Friday, we lost another 360 carriers net. Now, a reminder, these are weekly numbers, right? Remember that 2,000 carrier loss? That was a weekly number. This is week over week. Another reminder is that since the beginning of 2023, we have not seen a net increase in carriers at all. Now, load volumes. How much freight is there available in the market? What is the demand from shippers like? This colored or solid blue line, this is us right here. Everything else is prior years, and we can see that we're still above the 2018, 2019, and 2022 levels when it comes to volume. The interesting thing is that usually we see this is around the time where volume starts slowly creeping down, yet this year we're staying stable. Now, rejection rates, this is us, the blue line right here with the arrow. Rejection rates are still at the bottom compared to the previous 5 years. We're currently at 3.76, which means 3.76% of the loads are actually getting rejected and ending up in the spot market. What is interesting, though, is that we did see an increase from last week where we were at 3.73%. But again, we're still bouncing at the bottom with, unfortunately, no end in sight quite yet. Diesel, I absolutely love you. So we can see the diesel prices are continuing to slide down. Last week, we were at $4.19 per gallon. This week, $4.10 per gallon. So that is great. And if we take a look at the map, the diesel map, we can see that still all of the West Coast as well as the Northeast, not good places to refuel. In the middle of America, especially Texas, Oklahoma, and Missouri, these are good places to buy your diesel fuel. All right, now on to spot market load volume, starting with dry vans. This is the dry van chart. We can see since the week before, there was a decrease in volume, even though yeah, there should have been a decrease, but this is quite a sharp decrease, unfortunately. Let's take a look at reefers. Reefer spot volumes also decreased, even though, they decreased quite a bit. I don't know. I'm hoping that we follow that 5-year average, the dotted line, and we see some increases in volumes for reefers. And finally, we have our flatbeds, which also saw a decrease, as you can see here. And this is really a pity because we should be seeing an increase in volume right about now. So what about the spot rates? Well, with spot rates starting with dry vans, we can see that unfortunately we saw a decrease and it is back to below $2 per mile on average, right around $1.99 per mile, a decrease of 7 cents per mile since last week. Hopefully we follow that 5-year pattern and we see those prices increase as we close out the year. Let's take a look at reefers. Reefers are also disappointing at the moment. They dropped to $2.25. As you can see, you know what, let me make it smaller. $2.25. I'm going to attach all of these down below so you guys can see. And this is also a 7-cent decrease week over week, which is a pity. Now for flatbeds, we can see that actually there was no change and we're right at that 5-year pattern. The flatbed rate is still on average around $2.28 per mile. Okay, now is about the time when we look at the most volatile markets in terms of volume and rejections for all equipment types. And we can see this is the volume volatility. And we can see that New Mexico, Lubbock, Texas, Arkansas, parts or Memphis, Tennessee, the market here. And there was another one, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Maine, upstate New York, and then some parts right here had really significant volume increases. Does anyone know what these guys produce? Because that is definitely not my strong suit. I have no idea. Now, in terms of significant volume decreases, those happened in Idaho, in Pendleton, Oregon, North Dakota, Illinois, and Vermont. Now, rejection wise, again, for all equipment types, a little bit more colorful, huge rejection decreases in the Pacific Northwest, Tennessee, Kentucky. We have Joplin, Missouri right here, Central California, Virginia, unfortunately, Dubuque, Iowa. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Big rejection increases in Arkansas, around the Houston, Texas area, Atlanta, Georgia, South Carolina, Connecticut, upstate New York, Pittsburgh, Nevada, Utah, and parts of Wyoming. All right, now it's time to look at some hit haul maps for reefers, dry vans, and flatbeds. So starting with dry vans, we are looking for places that are blue because those are the places where there are more loads than there are trucks. So negotiating power is on your side as the carrier. Southern California, Reno, Nevada, we have South Dakota, Sioux Falls, Wisconsin, Michigan, Dallas, Texas, which is interesting, and then some random spots throughout the Midwest and the East Coast. Where I do not recommend going is the Northeast and the Pacific Northwest, as well as the South, I guess. There's overcapacity. Where you see red, that is overcapacity galore. And just from this, we can see how much of an overcapacity of dry vans there is. All right, now on to reefers. We can see it's not as colorful, but Central California, Idaho, Wisconsin, New Jersey, Delaware. We have Chicago, Illinois, some of the Midwest here. These are places where there are more loads than trucks. Everything that's pinkish or reddish, overcapacity again. So yeah, reefers are also struggling with overcapacity, just not to the same degree as dry vans. Finally, we have flatbeds. For flatbeds, I have to use the DAT market map because Sonar does not provide data on flatbeds. So here it's opposite. Blue is where there is overcapacity. Red is where there are more loads than trucks, right? The redder it is, the better. So we have been used to seeing Oregon bright red, and we can see it's actually cooling down right now, although Portland is still a good market, depending on where you want to go. Now, in terms of the South, looks like it's expanding. Better loads in the South. There are more of them, less trucks, and pretty much all of Pennsylvania, which is surprising. Everywhere else, I mean, Indiana, Ohio, still some possibilities, but the plain states and most of the Midwest, yeah, it's oversaturated with trucks. Before we look at where to go for reefers and dry vans, I want to show you the gauge chart. So what you are going to see is numbers, negative or positive. Negative numbers mean that there are less trucks in that market area week over week. Positive numbers means that there are more trucks in that area week over week. Take a look. All right, in terms of our where to go maps, I know we're used to those 3D maps. Unfortunately, Sonar just yesterday released an email that they did away with those 3D maps. So we're forced to look at maps side by side, rejections versus volumes, and we have to match up the areas that are dark blue or as dark blue as possible on both maps. This is where to go. So for reefers, rejections, volumes. Twin Falls, Idaho, this is the rejection map. 22.7% rejection. The volume index, also you can see it's dark blue, volume index is at 34, which is high for a reefer. Now we have also Southern California, which is a rejection of only 8.47%, but the volume does make up for it. The volume index is at 54. Everything else, you can download these maps down below. You will see that everywhere else you have to choose, right? Either the volume is low and rejection is high, which means that there's going to be nothing to choose from, or the volume is extremely high, rejection low, which means bad rates, but a lot of bad rates. All right, let's take a look at the dry van. Again, rejection, volume. So for the dry van, number one is Grand Rapids, Michigan, right here and right here. You can see the rejection rate is 11.27%, volume index of 113. Then we have Green Bay, Wisconsin, this part, and we can see it right here, this part, although it looks light, but the rejection rate is 14.5%, volume index of 71. Finally, we have the Rock Island, Illinois area, which is a rejection rate of 11.22%, volume index of 65. But you'll find the same exact pattern with dry vans as with reefers. Where there is high rejection, there is no volume. Where there is high volume, there is no rejection. So basically what we're seeing is that even though capacity is slowly leaking out, and yes, it is leaking out, we don't know how many trucks exactly, but based on the trajectory, we can safely assume that there are less trucks in the market. The problem is it's not leaking out fast enough to tip the scale in our favor yet. Now, rejection rates are bouncing on the bottom for the longest time, it seems, even though volumes are pretty strong. Now, I have to say that reefers are personally a huge disappointment to me because we started with reefers. We operated reefers for more than 50% of the time since our company was formed. This is a trailer that I thought could weather anything simply because of the commodities it transports, but clearly there's such an overcapacity of reefers that it's just killing those reefer rates. And this is why we no longer operate reefers. We have parked every single reefer we have. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. I wish you all strength to continue in the current market, flexibility to change with the market, and of course, patience while we all wait for the market to tip in our favor. Wishing you all an amazing rest of your week, a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.